We're in Guadalajara, Mexico, 1987. This journey starts small, with an accident that nobody saw coming. Our focus is on Santiago Morales, a bright, energetic 5-year-old in the Analco neighborhood. It's just a routine Tuesday, and Santiago is playing innocently in his dusty backyard. Then, a sudden, clumsy stumble. He trips and his head smashes hard against the unforgiving stone edge of an old well. That gut-wrenching sound brings his mother, Carolina, sprinting out of the house. For what feels like an eternity, nearly 2 full minutes, Santiago is unresponsive. The good news: the doctors at the hospital confirm he just has a minor concussion. The bad news: when Santiago wakes up that evening, he sits up in bed and shares a vision that shatters his parents' reality. He says, quietly but firmly, "Mom, I saw Yeshua when he was a boy, just like me. He was playing in a place of sand and stones. He was molding little mud houses with his hands, but they weren't like normal houses. They came alive, Yeshua." Carolina and Roberto, deeply devout Catholics, are totally confused. They have never used the original Hebrew name for Jesus. It's not a name their son should know. "Where did you even hear that name, son?" Roberto asks, his voice barely a whisper. Santiago stares back with an unnerving intensity, a deep, knowing look in his eyes that feels decades old. He simply replies, "I didn't hear it, Dad. I saw it. I was there. And I know why those stories are never told. It's because someone deliberately kept them hidden from us." The child's eloquence is impossible for his age. His words flow without hesitation, like a scholar reciting ancient knowledge. Carolina, determined, goes to the parish library the next day and confirms the incredible truth. Yeshua is the Aramaic name. Santiago, who can't read and lives in a home without religious literature, had accessed information known only to specialists. That night, Santiago simply says, "Tomorrow, I'll tell you everything I saw, everything they tried to bury." Then he falls silent, as if an unknown force sealed his lips. 3 tense days pass with nothing more. His parents start to rationalize. Maybe it was just a post-concussion fantasy. But on Friday night, while eating dinner, Santiago suddenly drops his spoon and stares at the wall, transfixed. He speaks again. Yeshua was 6 years old when he made a mud bird fly and it flew away. His teacher, Hillen, saw it and got very scared. He forbade him from ever doing that in front of other children. The specificity is terrifying. Roberto calls their priest, Father Ignacio. They need a definitive answer. Is this a miracle or a medical crisis? Father Ignacio, a seasoned priest, asks Santiago to share more. "I saw things you don't know, Father. Things in books nobody reads. Yeshua performed miracles even as a child, but he was punished for them. That's why they told him his power was dangerous." Father Ignacio instantly recognizes the pattern. This matches detailed accounts found in the apocryphal Gospels texts the church studied but never accepted as canon. "How do you know this?" the priest demands, his voice cracking. Santiago replies, "Because I was there, Father. I don't know how, but I was there, and I saw why they erased these stories." Father Ignacio is shaken. "This is beyond me," he mutters. "I need to contact the bishop." 10 days later, the investigation goes official. Bishop Ramon Castellanos, a 72-year-old expert and doctor of theology from the Gregorian University in Rome, arrives. He's joined by Father Ignacio and Dr. Sylvia Mendoza, a child psychologist, ready to prove this is a mental delusion. The bishop sits before Santiago, who is playing with wooden cars. "Santiago," he asks, notepad ready, "tell me everything you remember from your visions." "I need details, please." The boy puts his toys down and focuses. "I saw Yeshua in a stone house. He was 5, just like me. He was playing with other children near a well. One of the children pushed him, and he fell into the water. Everyone thought he would drown, but he simply walked on the water to the edge. The other children ran away screaming. The bishop scribbles furiously. This exact account, a child Jesus walking on water, is found in the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, a text known only to the deepest academic religious circles. This is impossible. Dr. Mendoza, the psychologist, tries to keep her tone neutral. And what else did you see? Santiago closes his eyes again. I saw that when Yeshua was 7, his father Joseph needed help in the carpentry shop. They were making a rich man's table, but Joseph cut one of the beams too short. Yeshua put his hands on the wood and stretched it until it was the perfect length. Joseph told him never to tell anyone. Bishop Castellano shivers. This specific, incredible detail, Jesus stretching a cut beam, is found in the Arabic Infancy Gospel, another ancient, non-canonical text that only a handful of scholars worldwide are aware of. The bishop leans in close. Santiago, do you know how to read? Have you ever visited a library or seen ancient books? The boy shakes his head for both. Carolina, anxious, speaks from the doorway. Bishop, my son can barely write his name. We have no books here except one Bible. There is no way he knows these stories. Slowly, the bishop closes his notebook. He looks at Father Ignacio, then at Dr. Mendoza. We have to document every word, every detail. If this child is telling the truth, we are witnessing something that hasn't happened in centuries. Then, he asks the question that changes everything. Santiago, do you know why these specific books are not in the Bible? Who removed them and why? Santiago nods slowly. Yes, and when I'm ready, I will tell you the whole truth. Bishop Castellanos decides he must run the ultimate test. If Santiago truly has access to ancient knowledge without reading it, he should be able to describe something not recorded in any common text. 3 days later, the bishop returns with a warm leather briefcase containing copies of manuscripts he's studied for, decades documents in Latin and ancient Greek. He opens a folder and shows the boy an image, a 1952 photograph of the ruins of Nazareth, showing stone houses, a communal well, and synagogue foundations. Santiago, I want you to look at this picture. Do you recognize this place? Santiago stares for a full 30 seconds, then points to a specific spot on the photo's corner. There, that was Yeshua's house. But something is missing from this picture. The bishop frowns. What's missing? Santiago touches the image with his small finger. There was a huge, very old olive tree here. Yeshua used to climb it to watch the sunset. And beneath that tree, something important is buried. The bishop's heart pounds. He checks his exhaustive notes. No canonical or apocryphal text ever mentions a specific olive tree at Jesus' house. This is completely new information. What is buried there, Santiago? The boy closes his eyes, seeing the scene clearly. A small wooden box. Inside are drawings Yeshua made when he was 8 years old, drawings of birds, his family, the secret miracles he performed. His mother, Miriam, buried them because she knew that someday someone would need to find them. Dr. Mendoza, who has been quietly taking notes, finally speaks up. Bishop, this is impossible. A child cannot invent this level of detail. Father Ignacio nods. Unless he truly saw it. The bishop puts the photo away and looks at Santiago intently. Son, if what you say is true, we need to go to that place. We need to excavate it. Santiago opens his eyes and for the first time smiles. You won't need to go all the way there, Bishop. What matters isn't in Nazareth. It's much closer than you think. The silence in the room is total. Carolina's legs are shaking. What do you mean, son? Santiago walks to the window, pointing toward the distant silhouette of the mountains. There is a place in Jalisco, a tiny village almost nobody knows. A monk came there many years ago and brought something from the Holy Land. He hid it before he died, and that is what holds the answers you seek. Bishop Castellanos feels a chill down his spine. What is the name of this village? Santiago looks at him with those ancient eyes. San Miguel de las Piedras, St. Michael of the Stones. And you need to go soon, because time is running out. 2 weeks later, a small convoy leaves Guadalajara bound for San Miguel de las Piedras. Traveling are Bishop Castellanos, Father Ignacio, Dr. Mendoza, Carolina, and Santiago. Roberto stayed behind to work, giving them his worried blessing. The village is 130 kilometers south, hidden among arid hills and dirt roads. A place off most maps, home to only 400 souls. The journey is long and dusty. Santiago sits quietly in the back seat, looking out the window. Then, about 20 kilometers from their destination, he speaks. When we arrive, look for the old, unused church. Behind the altar, there is a loose stone. Beneath that stone, you will find a passage. The bishop glances in the rearview mirror. A passage to where? Santiago closes his eyes. To the truth. They arrive at noon. The sun beats down fiercely on the empty streets. Father Ignacio asks an old man sweeping his porch about the old church. The man points to a crumbling adobe building on a small hill. It's there, Father, but no one has been inside in 30 years. They say it's haunted. The group climbs the hill. The church is small, the doors swollen and difficult to open. Inside, the air smells of damp earth and abandonment. Santiago walks directly to the stone altar, like he knows the way. He kneels and points to a specific stone on the floor. Here, move this. The old man points toward a crumbling adobe structure, crowning a small hill. It's there, Father, but no one has gone inside for 30 years. They say it's haunted. Thanking him, the group led by the bishop, Father Ignacio, Dr. Mendoza, Carolina, and Santiago ascends the hill under the blistering heat. The church is smaller than they imagined, the wooden doors warped with moisture, making them difficult to open. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of damp earth and abandonment. Broken pews, flaking saint statues, and a dust-covered stone altar fill the space. Santiago, however, walks straight to the altar, as if guided by an internal map. He kneels and points to a specific stone slab on the floor. Here, move this. The bishop and Father Ignacio exchange incredulous looks. Using a metal crowbar they brought, they apply force to the stone. It yields with a low, grinding sound, revealing a dark hole beneath. The bishop shines his flashlight down. It's a small tunnel descending about 3 meters, with steps carved into the rock. My God, whispers Dr. Mendoza. Santiago peers into the darkness and states calmly, I'll go down first. You follow me. Without waiting for a reply, he starts to descend. Carolina tries to grab him, but the bishop holds her arm. Let him go, ma'am. He knows what he's doing. One by one, they descend into the darkness, chasing a secret that has waited centuries to be revealed. The steps end in a subterranean chamber, roughly 4 meters square. The walls are made of volcanic stone, covered in strange symbols. The bishop illuminates the wall and immediately recognizes ancient Aramaic script mixed with Latin. This is impossible, he mutters. These symbols are from the 1st century. How did they get here in Mexico? Santiago walks toward the center of the chamber, where a stone table stands. Resting on it is a wooden chest, approximately 40 centimeters long, decayed by time. The boy places his hands on the chest, but doesn't open it. Inside this box, Santiago explains, is the reason the Infancy Gospels of Yeshua were deleted. Inside is the proof that he was entirely human before he became entirely divine, and that truth threatened many powerful men. Bishop Castellanos feels his knees weaken. He approaches slowly, his hands trembling, and lifts the lid of the chest. Inside, there are 3 objects: a rolled manuscript protected by a copper cylinder, a small clay figure shaped like a dove, and a piece of cloth with dark, blood-like stains. Father Ignacio reverently takes the manuscript. He unrolls the parchment with extreme care. It's written in Aramaic, and he can read fragments. His eyes widen as he deciphers the text. "Bishop, this is a testimony. It's signed by Mary Magdalene." Dr. Mendoza gasps. "What does it say, Father?" Father Ignacio swallows hard. "It says that when Jesus was 9, a village boy drowned in a river. Jesus placed his hands on the body, and the child came back to life. But the Pharisees accused Jesus of witchcraft. Joseph and Mary had to flee Nazareth for 3 months. Santiago nods in confirmation. That's why they erased those stories. They showed Yeshua using his divine power before his official ministry began. That contradicted the idea that he was just a common man until age 30. Church didn't want people to know he was always special, that his miracles started in childhood. Overwhelmed, the bishop sinks onto the floor of the chamber. But why is this here? Who brought it? Santiago points to an inscription on the wall. A Franciscan monk named Fray Bartolomé de Oviedo. He came to Mexico in 1542. He brought these objects, which he found in the catacombs of Rome. He knew they would be destroyed in Europe, so he hid them here. He built this chamber with the help of Nahua natives, who believed they were protecting something sacred. The bishop reads the inscription with his flashlight. Indeed, a name is carved into the stone. Bartolomé de Oviedo, year of our Lord, 1534. Dr. Mendoza is tearful. This changes everything we thought we knew. Santiago picks up the clay dove figure. This is the first bird Yeshua made fly when he was 6. His teacher, Hillel, kept it because he knew it was a miracle. And someday, when the world is ready, everyone will know the complete truth. The silence in the chamber is deep as silence holding 2,000 years of secrets. They are only just beginning to unravel. For 3 intense days, Bishop Castellanos works with a team of ancient language experts to fully translate the manuscript. They take it to the University of Guadalajara, where Dr. Ernesto Valdez, an emeritus professor of biblical studies, confirms the unthinkable. The document is authentic. Carbon-14 testing dates the papyrus to between 60 and 80 AD. It is written in Galilean Aramaic, the exact dialect, spoken in Jesus' time, and the faded signature at the end is identifiable. Miriam of Magdala, Mary Magdalene. Dr. Valdez reads the complete translation aloud to the bishop, Father Ignacio, Dr. Mendoza, and Santiago. I, Miriam of Magdala, testify what I saw with my own eyes. When Yeshua was a child, the Lord was already working through him. I saw how he healed a dying lamb just by touching it. I saw how he multiplied bread when his family was hungry. I saw how he calmed storms with his words. But I also saw how the elders of the temple feared him. They said a child with such power was dangerous, that he could alter the established order. Dr. Valdez, the professor, pauses and looks at the bishop. There's more, he says. She describes a specific event that appears in no canonical gospel. He continues reading. When Yeshua was 11, a troop of Roman soldiers came to Nazareth looking for rebels. They brutally beat an innocent old man. Yeshua stepped forward and touched the elder. The wounds vanished instantly. The Roman centurion was so terrified that he fled the village and never returned. But the incident reached the ears of the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. From then on, they watched Yeshua closely. Santiago slides off his high chair and approaches the ancient manuscript. That, he says, is the main reason they buried these texts. They showed Yeshua challenging authorities even as a child, not just religious authorities, but political ones too. If that knowledge had spread, it would have sparked revolutions. It showed that divine power is available even to the youngest, the most humble, and that scared those who controlled power. Bishop Castellanos closes his eyes, grappling with the weight of the confession. So, the early church decided to hide this part of history? Dr. Valdez nods. It wasn't just the church. At the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, Emperor Constantine and the bishops decided which texts would be considered sacred and which would be discarded. The Infancy Gospels showed a Jesus who was too human, perhaps too imperfect in his learning and too powerful at an early age. It simply didn't fit the narrative they needed to construct. Santiago interrupts, and they burned hundreds of manuscripts. But some survived, like this one. Dr. Mendoza, silent until now, finally speaks. Santiago, how do you know all this? Who is showing you? The child looks at her with those eyes that seem to hold centuries. It's not a person, doctor. It's a memory. A memory that exists everywhere, within time itself, and for some reason, I can access it. The bishop makes the sign of the cross. My God, this child is a mystic, a seer. Santiago shakes his head. I'm not special, Bishop. I'm just the messenger. And the most important part is still missing. They all look at him expectantly. What is missing? Father Ignacio asks, breath held tight. Santiago takes a deep breath. I need to show you where the rest of the manuscripts are, because this is only one of 7. Santiago's revelation about 6 other hidden manuscripts shakes the entire group. This implies a coordinated network of knowledge, protected for almost 2,000 years. Bishop Castellanos immediately calls an urgent meeting with high-level ecclesiastical authorities. 3 weeks later, Cardinal Esteban Rojas, sent directly from the Vatican, arrives in Guadalajara. He is a 68-year-old expert in the Holy See's secret archives, carrying a briefcase of classified documents. They meet in a private room. Cardinal Rojas observes Santiago with a mix of fascination and caution. Santiago, I have read the reports and seen the manuscript you found, the cardinal says. The Vatican has known about the existence of hidden texts for centuries, but we never knew their exact locations. Can you tell us where the other 6 are? Santiago nods. They are scattered across the world. One is in Ethiopia, buried beneath a Coptic church in Lalibela. Another is in Turkey, in the caves of Cappadocia, sealed in a bronze urn. The third is in Spain, in the Montserrat Monastery, hidden behind the image of the Black Madonna. The fourth is in Egypt, at St. Catherine's Monastery in Sinai. The fifth is in India, in a secret library in Kerala. The sixth is in France, in the catacombs beneath the Basilica of St. Denis. The cardinal rapidly scribbles notes. Every location the boy mentions corresponds to known historical sites for preserving ancient texts. And the 7th? The cardinal asks, his voice strained. Santiago pauses. The 7th never left the Holy Land. It is in Jerusalem, beneath the Western Wall, Wailing Wall, in a chamber that was sealed in 70 AD, just before the Romans destroyed the temple. Silence falls completely. Father Ignacio gasps. That means it has existed untouched for nearly 2,000 years. Santiago confirms. It is the most important of all, because it contains Yeshua's direct words, a diary he wrote himself when he was 12 years old after his visit to the temple. Cardinal Rojas stands up, visibly shaken. Santiago, are you telling me that a text written by Jesus Christ himself exists? The child looks at him without blinking. Yes, and in that text he explains his mission. He explains why he came. He explains what must happen for humanity to awaken. And he also explains why his childhood was hidden. Carolina grips her son's hand. And what does it say, my love? What does it explain? Santiago breathes deeply. It says that the miracles of his childhood were a preparation, that God was teaching him to use divine power for when he became an adult. But it also says that every human being has that exact same potential, that we can all do what he did if we learn to connect with the divine from childhood. Cardinal Rojas sinks back into his chair. That is revolutionary. That would change the entire structure of faith as we know it. Santiago nods. That's exactly why they hid it. Because if people knew we all had the potential to be like Yeshua, we wouldn't need intermediaries. We wouldn't need institutions telling us how to connect with God. And that was unacceptable for those who built religious power. Bishop Castellanos makes the sign of the cross. Lord, have mercy on us. The cardinal stares intently at Santiago. We need to recover all these manuscripts and we must do it before this information falls into the wrong hands. Santiago offers a slight smile. It has already begun, Cardinal. The world is ready, and nothing can stop it now. 6 months later, an international team gathers in Jerusalem. The Vatican, collaborating with the Israel Antiquities Authority and academics from 5 universities, initiates the most delicate and secretive excavation in decades, right beneath the Western Wall. Santiago travels with his parents, the bishop, and the cardinal. When he arrives at the wall, he stops abruptly, closes his eyes, and tears stream down his cheeks. "It all began here," he whispers. Caroline embraces him. "What do you feel, son?" The boy's voice is trembling. "I feel Yeshua. He was 12 when he stood here. He was overwhelmed by the presence of God. This is where he truly understood who he was." Using ground-penetrating radar, the archaeologists locate the sealed entrance exactly where Santiago said it would be 3 meters below the current level. After 3 weeks of painstaking work, they open a narrow passage leading to a small chamber. The walls are covered in ancient Hebrew inscriptions. At the center, on a stone pedestal, rests a clay cylinder sealed with hardened beeswax. Dr. Isaac Levy, the chief archaeologist, takes the cylinder with shaking hands. "It's real. My God, it's real." In a specialized lab, they carefully open the cylinder using cutting-edge preservation techniques. Inside is a scroll of parchment in perfect condition, written in Aramaic with clear, youthful handwriting. Dr. Levy begins to translate aloud in front of the cameras, documenting every second of the discovery. "I, Yeshua ben Joseph, write this in my 12th year. I have seen visions of the future, and I have seen what I must do. But I have also seen the fear in the eyes of the elders. They do not understand that the power I possess is not for domination, but for liberation. I write this so that one day, when the time is right, the truth may be known." The silence in the room is absolute. Santiago approaches the parchment and touches it gently. Here it is. The complete explanation. Dr. Levy continues reading. "My mother told me strange things happened since I was born. Animals followed me. Plants grew faster where I played. When I was 5, I healed an injured dog without knowing how. My father, Joseph, said it was the Lord working through me, but the rabbis said it was the work of evil. I had to learn to hide what I could do." Cardinal Rojas has tears in his eyes. It is the voice of Christ, his true voice as a child. Dr. Levy nods and continues. "Now I understand that I came to show a path, not to be adored, but to be imitated. Everything I do, you can do also, because the Father is in me, as he is in everyone. But I know some will use my name to create divisions. They will create temples, rules, and punishments. They will forget that the message is simple. Love, serve, and awaken the divine power within you." Santiago speaks. That is the part they hid, because if everyone awakens that power, no one can be controlled. Bishop Castellanos falls to his knees, weeping. "Forgive us, Lord. Forgive us for concealing your truth for 2,000 years. The cardinal places a hand on the bishop's shoulder. "We didn't come here to ask for forgiveness. We came to correct the error. This manuscript must be shared with the world." 3 months later, the Vatican makes a historical announcement. The Pope convenes a global press conference to reveal the discovery of the 7 infancy manuscripts of Christ. And news shakes the planet. Millions watch the broadcast live from Rome. The Pope, firm yet emotional, declares, "For centuries, the Church kept secrets out of fear of losing control, fear that the truth would be misinterpreted. But the time for fear is over. Christ came to liberate us, not to subjugate us. And today, humanity deserves to know his complete story." The manuscripts are digitized and made available to the public on an international portal. Scholars, theologians, and common people worldwide can read them. While some question their authenticity, scientific tests are irrefutable. The manuscripts are genuine. Santiago Morales, now 6 years old, becomes an involuntary symbol of this awakening. He grants only one interview from Guadalajara. A respectful journalist asks, "Santiago, what do you want people to understand from all this?" The boy looks directly into the camera with those deep, timeless eyes. "I want them to understand that Yeshua didn't come to be different from us. He came to show us what we can become. We all carry that same light inside. We can all perform miracles if we learn to connect with divine love. We don't need intermediaries or luxurious temples. We just need to wake up." His words resonate. Social media explodes with reflection and spiritual transformation. 6 months after the papal announcement, the other 6 manuscripts are successfully recovered from their scattered locations, confirming a clear purpose: to show that the divine and the human are not separate, that every person can be a channel for the sacred. The Catholic Church undergoes a massive internal transformation. Focus shifts from passive worship to active practice of love and service. Churches become community centers, teaching meditation and spiritual healing. Cardinal Rojas leads a historical reform, creating a global council embracing all spiritual traditions. Santiago returns to his normal life. He goes to school, plays soccer, but retains a serenity that surprises everyone. One day, playing at school, a friend falls and badly scrapes his knee. Santiago walks over, places his hand on the wound, and closes his eyes. When he lifts his hand, the wound has completely vanished. The other children gasp. Santiago simply smiles. "We can all do it," he says. "We just have to remember who we really are." 10 years later, in 1997, Santiago is 15. He's a normal teen who plays football and listens to rock music. But at night, he writes down everything he experienced during that extraordinary year of 1987. He knows these memories are vital. The world has changed. Religions are now spiritual support networks, and people seek direct experience over rigid dogma. The last line of Yeshua's original diary entry, the one Santiago never shared publicly until now, said this: "A time will come when a child will remember these words, and that child will open the doors for all to remember." Because the kingdom of God is not a distant place. It is here now, within every heart that chooses to awaken. Santiago closes his diary and looks out at the starry Guadalajara sky. He smiles, knowing his mission was fulfilled. Jesus' childhood is no longer a mystery. It's an invitation. An invitation for every human being to discover their own divinity. And that invitation is just beginning to be accepted by a humanity finally ready to wake up.